Guilty.
All right, we can call the meeting 11:07 and get started. So folks are trickling in. There's meetings running over, so. And Chris will be joining us a little bit later. Hopefully he's in a meeting. All right, and so we may have a quick update too, I just mentioned, just because we covered quite a bit last time. So we're just gonna give a quick run through. And since you're on, Peter, you want to give us an update?
An update. Let's see. In terms of transition plans, we got our 13th plan approved. And there's seems to be a lot. Huh? What?
Transformation plans.
Transformation, right? Yeah. Transition plan, transformation plans, yeah. We have, I believe the last number was 13 individuals who successfully transitioned as of last month. I don't know where we are this month. So the plans are starting to move forward. We're pretty excited about that. There's been a lot of talk at our technical assistance meetings with Deloitte. We're hopefully moving forward to get additional providers to submit plans. We have our STEC activity initiative that's going on. As a reminder, this is the list of activities that was generated by Deloitte to review Deloitte's review of the DDS systems. We've identified the owners. Meetings have been held with the various owners and the work has begun. Right now we're looking at that list again to see if some of the activities can be consolidated in order to reduce duplication of work. Let's see what else we got. Our operations center is working on a contract for assistive technology assessment vendors. So we have assigned 3 agencies to do assistive technology assessment throughout the state. In terms of the north and south regions, that will be done by Oak Hill CIB. In terms of Fairfield County, that's going to be done by STAR, and the rest of the West region is going to be by Mid-State ARC. And so the idea here is that individuals throughout the state will be referred based on their region to these vendors. Now, anybody can go to whoever they want, that's their choice. But we've set these up as our agency of choice in that area so that they will then do assessments of the individual. They'll come back and then with recommendations. Once those recommendations are approved, this same vendor then will purchase the equipment. They'll also install the equipment and they'll also train the staff on this. So we're trying to do like a one-stop shopping vendor. And the idea is to get as many people using assistive technology, those who can use it, and to help in terms of increasing their independence. The hope here at this point is that this will be up and running by January 1st. And so we're still working through some of the technical things in terms of how does the referral process go, how does the payment process, all that stuff we're trying to work through in the background. We have also under our assistive technology, at this point, we have 100 DDS staff that have started a class to receive assistive technology certification. This is like a 10-week course. People go through it. They have assignments to do. The idea, once again, is to get more of our staff to understand where the capabilities and limitations of assistive technology, so that we can really make sure that we're doing the best and the most we can for people, and helping them to become more independent. And so they'll hopefully be finished, I believe, somewhere around December. So hopefully we'll have them more people out there. We had sent out a third opportunity for individuals and families for assistive technology equipment. We also did another one for providers. And we're starting to get proposals back, and see what we can do with that. And lastly, we're in the process of hiring someone who can assist us in terms of as a consultant, especially with our remote support program. And the person should be on board, I think, this month, if not next month. So hopefully that person will help us to increase this as well. We have the AT&Me program that's been launched. What this is a program that helps to introduce assistive technology to individuals that we support. And so it has individuals who go through this training, and it's developed hopefully to be a peer-to-peer training that those that get trained initially will then be able to train other individuals on assistive technology. We've got 22 that have been trained to date, and there's more that have been set up. The idea is that we'll have, by the end of all this, we'll have like 600 more individuals who have been trained and learn more about assistive technology and how to get on the web and how to use a phone and all that kind of stuff. So we're really trying to move forward with that. Our employment network website is up and running, and this thing has been revamped. We're now working on, when we looked at our last data analysis from Rewarding Work, that we found that there's 15 staff available to one job opening, which is just totally different from what is happening out in the rest of the sector. Our thinking is that we need to make sure that families and individuals realize this employment network website is up and running, and so that they then can post their jobs and be able to match their jobs with the staff that are have their resume out there. So we'll be looking at increasing that communication over the next month. Let's see, a couple more things. We have implemented a critical incident review process. So we have a system, it's called Pulse Light, that looks at Medicare claims and hospitalizations. And then we match to make sure that DDS on our end has a critical incident report or a regular incident report. We started this about a couple of years ago. Now we're adding different pieces to it. So the first thing we've added now is an individual's lawn, so that we can now start seeing if there's something that's there that we can use to help in terms of our analysis and stuff. So that's the lawn part's been added, and then we've got more parts that are going into it to help make this more usable for us. Our NCI survey, this is a survey that's done. It's part of our national core indicators that is done every year. We had used Yukon as a subcontractor this year. Previously, we had done it by DDS staff. DDS was, for the first time in a couple of years, was able to meet its targets, which is good. We have identified some quality issues that we needed to work through. And we're also looking at for next year, this year coming up, I think it starts in January, to do some more additional analysis components that UConn will do so that we can get the most out of the survey as we can. We have our case management system. We had hired a project manager, and now we have a couple of business analysts, and we're looking at other states. They've now narrowed it down to 2 different states that have potential that DDS could use and install. That case management system here, the one that we have now, we call cameras, and that's been around for over 20 years, and it's kind of used at this point, not doesn't have as many capabilities as a newer system. So hopefully, the idea is that we'll identify one sometime this by the end of this calendar year, and then implement it within the next year. And lastly, in terms of there's a universal assessment that's out there that the state had been working on in terms of having a universal assessment similar to our lawn, except this would be like a one-stop shopping kind of deal that anybody in the state, wherever they are, could go into a state office and they would be using the same universal assessment. And the idea was DDS was going to join this with DSS, who has implemented it. A lot of this was taken off of the DDS lawn already. But when we tried to put those 2 together, there was a number of issues that we needed to deal with. And right now we're trying to figure out, is the state still looking at doing this universal piece? And so we're trying to make this a little bit more broader in terms of what is the state actually looking at and what do they want to do with this. That's now been refocused in terms of trying to see what other state agencies are going to do with the universal assessment, not just DSS and DDS. And that is my update. Whew.
Princess here, DDS. That was quite an update, Peter. So much going on. So much going on behind the scenes. I'm really interested in hearing more about that case management system that's going to be coming out. Our e-camera system is certainly limited, and so any innovation with a new system would be great. Is it going to be a new system entirely or updating e-cameras?
Yeah, this is Peter Mason. The idea is this would be a whole new system. In my head, not much up there, but what is up there in my head, I'm thinking is that this would be a lot more electronic, and that people would be able to go on to it, whether that's families or providers would be able to go on and see what's in for their individuals and families. Providers would be able to see all the people that are in their agency. But it also then would be looking at the individual plan, making sure that that's electronic, and having us a way of then being able to look at where everybody's at and stuff. So it's designed to have a new system. It's designed to be a new system. And, we're trying to get this within the next year, trying to figure out what we want. We know we're not going to get everything we want. And Wayne is probably much more involved in this than I am. I know we're not going to get everything we want. We're hoping that if we get 70% of what we want and then try to figure out how to get the rest of it, that's what we're looking at do. So I'll let Wayne do that, and then we can go to Marina.
Okay. Yeah, just to continue to build off of Peter's comments, I think it's just important. I only raised my hand because it's important to say that we go into this with goals, as Peter just articulated. Those are all the things we would love to have. And I think, those of us in case management would love more than that too, right? So there's lots of things that we have on our wish list, because we are looking at what's out there and, looking to perhaps adopt and adapt something that's already out there, we may, as Peter just said, may not get everything we want. So it's really early in the process. There's a lot of analysis happening, which is why you haven't really heard much about this yet. But I think as we get closer to identifying or like what the possibilities are, then people will hear more. The only other thing I'll add is that the current phase is what we call a requirements gathering phase, and that is trying to determine very specifically how we would rate or look at other systems. And so there are stakeholder groups that are participating in sort of mapping out what an as-is state is, including some case management. So again, there will definitely be more messaging. This is our DDS engagement group, and we will definitely be engaging more with everybody in the future, especially as we get a little closer. But for now, there's just a lot of background work being done. So. I'll leave my hand up also because I've got a few other questions for Peter after Marina. Thank you.
Hey, so Marina Derman. Peter, I was curious about the lawn piece that you were talking about. Is the intent to, down the road, when you create a merged instrument, I guess, replace the lawn entirely in terms of assessing need and assigning budgets? Is that where the end game is here?
Yeah, so years ago, the state wanted to go down to this universal assessment. So anybody could go into any state office and would be given this assessment, and it would be able then to determine whether if you're DMIS, this is what it would look like. If you're DCF, this is what it looked like, and DDS, if that's what you look like. It's kind of meandered through it over the couple of years, and DSS has kind of taken on because they didn't have a lawn type assessment as it was. But when you look at when they put it together, they based a lot of it on the DDS lawn assessment. But when our first goal with this was to look at what they've done and what we have to see is it still match. Since they took most of that stuff, we thought it would, but there were like issues that we had, and to try to change all that. And then they found in that review there were a lot of issues that DSS had. So now there's a lot of things that need to happen with that. So to get to your question, the original intent was, yes, we would have gone to this universal assessment, and that would replace our lawn, and then it would, but it would still base our funding on whatever that piece to the lawn would be. What we came up with is it's a much longer tool than the DDS lawn, and takes a number of hours to complete, especially the first time, and then the second time it's a little bit less. So then it was going to be for us, how would we actually implement that? Because to have case managers doing 3 hour, I think it was like a 3-hour initial assessment, would be considerable amount of time. And then everybody had to get trained. And so then we would be looking at what the actual mechanism would be. So do we have one unit that does it versus a whole all the case managers? So there's a lot that's still going into this. But right now we're trying to find out, is the state still committed to this universal assessment piece? And if they are, then all the agencies need to jump in and figure out how that's going to work. So I hope that answers your question.
I'm just intrigued by the whole thing. I think that the lawn document is a giant pain in the butt, but I also question whether the universe of problems for which people come for services has so many non-overlaps, we'll call them underlaps, that you end up with just this monstrous thing because document or survey or whatever you want to call it, instrument, because the reasons you might go to DMIS are so different from the reasons that you would come to DDS. And if this thing has to cover all of those things, it's anyway, but I'm intrigued by the whole thing, so just curious.
I think the idea is that's why that first assessment is so long, because then you start saying, does this apply? No, 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 no. So that the second time you do it, all those questions you wouldn't have to answer again. And then it comes down to just what that's conceptually. But it whenever you're looking at trying to measure somebody and then put that with funding, it's a complicated process,
Sure.
and to hit everybody on that spectrum. I mean, DDS, I think for what we have is probably we're probably up there with all the states in terms of our assessment. I think it's a pretty good tool. There's nothing going to be perfect, and that does ours have issues? Yes, and we need to figure out how to resolve those issues. And I know we've looked at some of that stuff, and then the universal assessment kind of got in the way, and I know politics has been coming into play in terms of the legislators and stuff. So all this stuff is, it's complicated. So.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Wayne?
Yeah, so just first, Wayne Seidel, DDS, just a point, on Prime Day, your Amazon ads shirt is an ad for Amazon ads, just saying.
My son works for Amazon, so.
Oh, okay.
That was so meta. Wow.
Yeah. But aside from that silliness, I'm really excited to hear that the rewarding, I know there were delays with the rewardingwork.org adjustments. And so just curious, when did those complete? I may have missed that, but I do want to amplify that.
They were completed back in May.
Oh,
yeah. And
okay.
Rewarding Work has been advertising for staff, and they've been getting staff.
Okay.
But now we need to get the individuals who self-direct to start learning that. I think there's a problem that I don't think we've done a good job with the families to make sure that they understand this is all revamped. I think they still think it's the old Rewarding Work website, and it's not. It's completely changed. So.
Okay. Well, that messaging may have gone out specific to self-directed case management and teams that I'm not aware of, but we can certainly continue to trumpet that message to make sure that, especially in these challenging times for finding staff, especially for those that self-direct, that we can continue to share that information. So I appreciate that update and all the other updates.
Sure.
All right, Princess here, DDS. Thank you, Peter. That was a very hefty update, and there's hopefully we'll be hearing more about this and pushing that rewarding work for sure. We did get an update on when it was up and going for self-determination. So we have been talking about it, but yes, I think it's a great idea to push and get it out there for the people so that they know as well, and also link the website so that way they can take a quick look at it too as well.
Yeah, I just don't want to frustrate the staff that are that we're advertising to be on there, and then there's not enough jobs, because then you're going to lose those people. So.
Right. Okay. All right. So then we'll move on to Lauren, who's going to give us a communications update.
Hello. If you hear some buzzing in the background, we have construction going on at my house, building the new baby's room. So just bear with me if you hear crazy sounds. So thank you for, this is Lauren Gray from DDS. Thank you so much for having me. And as Peter said, we have a lot going on with communications. Yesterday, we launched the self-direction video as a part of our ongoing video series for STEP. We hope you will have a chance to watch and share that video. I put the link in the chat to our website, and that links to our YouTube, but we also shared on our Facebook page and our brand new Instagram page. So we're really trying to communicate and get this out there. And this is the last one in the series right now. We are filming the employment video on the 20th. So we're hoping to launch that one in November, and finish out the rest of the series by the end of the month. The STEP fact sheets and all of the STEP materials and resources are on the website, and we are continually asking people for improvement, clarifications, additions. So one of the things we just added to the website last week, and my computer's running slow, due to some feedback from case managers on the STEP website, we added 2 new sections. How do I take the next step? And then we added some reminders about, what STEP is. You do need DDS funding for this. And what STEP, a reminder of what STEP will and will not do, and a little bit more about the audience for STEP. So I hope these 2 areas added to the website help add some clarifications. And we're also going to add some clarifications and more helpful content to the fact sheets. As everyone knows, materials are meant to be updated and improved as we gather more information and, continue to get feedback from everybody. So we'll be updating the fact sheets with a little bit more of these clarifications about audience and funding as well. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So the next project we're undergoing right now, and it's a work in progress, is a lot of the feedback that we've received over the last couple months as we've rolled out the website, the fact sheets, the social media, the videos, all the things, has been people would really like to see how STEP supports those with more significant needs. And so we're working on a fact sheet and gathering success stories and examples for how the STEP support those with more significant needs. So we're going to be launching those in the coming months, to help families and individuals see, that most of the STEP supports can, help their individuals or family members, and help case managers communicate more about this too. It's been a frequent topic. So we'll be launching a fact sheet first about how STEP supports those with more significant and comprehensive needs. And we're going to try to do, we're definitely going to do one video on how employment services supports those with more comprehensive needs. And we hope to launch more videos after that one, but we will update you on that later. But just know that materials are coming on this topic. Any questions or feedback there? Okay.
Princess from DDS here. Thank you so much. That was some of the feedback that we did get coming out of the case management forum. And so folks are going to be really happy to hear that there is going to be a fact sheet coming out, some video, maybe a video coming out, some success stories of folks that have more comprehensive needs as well, and how STEP has been beneficial to them. As with assistive technologies, any type of remote support or anything like that would be great. That was one of the some feedback I just got from a case manager this morning too, as well as asking for some, I think, some sort of guide as to how folks went about it. What about implementing those supports for folks that have more comprehensive needs? So we'll delve more into that. I'm getting more feedback that I'll be sharing along the way. So thank you, Lauren, for that. And also too, just as one of our action steps for our committee too, if you guys have some time to take a look at the STEP website and all the great information and materials that communications has gotten up there. It's really, really great. But, you know, if you can take a look at it and help us out with any feedback that you may have as far as, you know, anything in context or any information that you feel like would be beneficial to add that you don't see there, that'll be great too as well. And we're also reaching out to case management teams as well to get some feedback from them too as well. Folks have been looking at it at the website, and all that feedback is coming in. So they're appreciating the new updates too, Lauren. A few of our people from our team already has taken a look at it. So we'll be getting that over to you.
Before we jump in, I know you have your hand raised. This is Lauren Gray from DDS. Yes, please send me that feedback, especially about the there was like a really loud noise. I missed part of it. But about the case manager who wanted a guide for how those transitions happen, I think you said. Please send me that in an email so I don't lose it. I do have more updates beyond this, but I want to go to our guest here.
Hey, so Marina Derman, sorry, you may have been about to say this later. I apologize if you were going to. So first a comment. Thank you for adding in the separate pieces for families with the comprehensive needs or more profound needs. That's really will be well appreciated in a whole swath of the population. But my question is, I'm curious about what your numbers are looking like in terms of views and downloads or whatever. I know Jordan's going on the road again this month. Is there a lot of signups for his forums? I just think you're doing all such great communication, but I hope that there's a lot of people looking at it as well.
Yeah, great question. This is Lauren Gray from DDS. So I'll cover a couple of things. So had strep throat last week too. Doing great over here, guys. Just thriving and surviving. Our email platform is doing really well. We have about 1,500 signups, and our open rates on our emails see between 60 to 70%, which is actually the highest I've ever worked with.
That's really that's a super number.
It's super high, super awesome. Yesterday's email about the self-direction video that launched, that I shared a link in the chat to, it was a 56% open rate, but it usually goes up as the day goes on. And last week we had 25 new subscriptions to our email platform, and every week it hovers between usually like 10 to 20 new signups to our email newsletter. So we're really trying to encourage people to continue to sign up for our updates. And we did send our first text message out to about 70 people. And it had like a 90% open rate. So again, it's only 70 people. But they're probably some of our most engaged people. But we really want to encourage people to continue to sign up for our email newsletter, especially. And on Facebook and Instagram, we have put paid advertising behind our videos, and we've had so usually the completion rate is like 1 to 3% for videos, and we're at like a 7% completion rate right now for watching the entire video, which is exceeding some expectations. And we've reached the impressions are like usually like about 50,000, and then we're getting usually about 500 clicks, like 500 to 750 like clicks on the video or to the website. So we're reaching a lot of people, and we have not started our YouTube advertising yet. YouTube advertising is super expensive if you do not know, but we just launched our self-direction video yesterday, and it already has 273 views on YouTube, and a couple more hundred on Facebook and Instagram. So overall, I feel like these are going pretty successfully, and I hope they will continue to be utilized as a resource as we continue on. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Lauren. Did that answer for you, Marina?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, no, that was great. I'm just picturing you all shouting into the void and no one listening. So I'm just happy that, to hear if there's good response rates or people and getting your messages on all fronts.
This is Lauren Gray from DDS. Sometimes it does feel like that when, people, case managers are still, or, individuals are still like, what is this? But so sometimes it does feel like that. But, we're really trying, and the case managers are such a good asset for sharing the fact sheets and the video. So I'm just super appreciative of everybody who's doing that and sharing this out there. And I just have a couple more updates before, and I know I've put a ton of links in the chat, but just email me or ask me if you have any questions.
Hey, Lauren, I just wanted to chime in
Yeah.
real quick, Princess DDS here, and also too to keep in mind too, and I've reminded case managers as well that this is early on in the game as far as social media and really getting it out there and just like really pumping up that interest and things. So it is early in the game, and I'm glad that folks are clicking, and we have over 200 clicks or 500 clicks you mentioned, so we'll certainly keep pushing that effort, but at least we have it there, and I'm excited to see in the future as the movement and the culture kind of goes toward having a social media image and base that those numbers will improve, and that'll be more of a norm, to be honest. So people will actually be going there maybe quicker than they would be going to the website, probably because it's just easier and just more I guess I don't know what's the word I want to use, trendy to go to the what's going up in the what do you call those when in the feed kind of thing, because you
Oh
get the
yeah,
latest.
what's
Yeah,
actually
it's like
going
the
on.
latest information. Yeah, the latest information is
Yeah.
always there. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But go ahead with your update. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And I will add a caveat. This is Laura Gray from DDS. I have faced a little bit of an uphill challenge with our social media. It was very dormant for many years. So we don't have very large followings on our platforms. As we promoted content and promoted our pages, we're getting more followers every day, like usually like 3 to 5 new followers a day. So that's like, slowly adding up on our platforms. But I try to share our content to resource groups whenever I can, and that really seems to help engagement. But I don't always have the most time to be sharing things. So, if you can share, if you are in advocacy groups or network groups or anything like that on Facebook, shares also really, really, really help us reach more people, like to get followers, to get views, all of that. So that's really like the most helpful thing people can do with our social media is not just like it, but share it. That's how we get more views, and Facebook rewards us for more shares. I still sound horrible. So my last 3 updates are, yes, this month we do have the October forums. We held 2 this week. I was not able to attend the one last night because my husband is sick and I'm on childcare. I'm on parenting duty, not childcare, sorry. But we did have one this morning that was pretty brief. We did not have a lot of questions, but we did have some feedback that the communications have been greatly improved from DDS, which I personally appreciated. But we do have the upcoming ones next week that I hope more people will attend, join, share feedback. We also have the calendar page that I posted in the chat as a reminder of upcoming events. We are adding 2 new employment events to the calendar today. Those should be up by the end of the day. There's a employment event for National Disability Employment Awareness Month on the 20th. And Governor Lamont also declared October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month as well. So we're excited about that event. And then last but not least, and I definitely want Wayne and Princess to chime in here too. Case managers were not always included on input or feedback or in the know before communications and other items were launched. We're really trying to change that with case manager monthly office hours and asking people for feedback and doing small little focus groups before we launch items to get feedback and share a preview before where we just expect case managers to just communicate things out. So our first one was we had like maybe 20-25 people attend, which wasn't a whole lot, but the feedback we received was invaluable, and it was very open, it was very honest. And so we're continuing our case manager office hour this month, and those will be going through at least the end of the year. If not, beyond that, we'll, continue them. But that feedback has been so important and so helpful. And, we're taking that feedback and turning it into action steps to carry forward as we continue to improve our communications. And that's most of my update, unless I forgot something.
Hi, Princess DDS here. I'll let Wayne go first if he has anything.
Yeah, DDS, Wayne Seidel. Thank you, Lauren. Great update. As you can hear, there's a lot of things going on communication-wise, and it's important, and I think we're shifting our thoughts and focus as to how is it actually being received. DDS engagement internally with our staff. And I know that that's something we've all been talking about every month for months now, right? But like to one of your last points, Lauren, asking for that feedback, about to the asking those that are actually receiving the information and then sharing the information for that feedback. And I think we're doing a great job of that now. And there was a little bit of it early on, but perhaps not as much as we could have. I will say, though, Deloitte had a lot of provider feedback forums, not provider feedback, DDS staff forums early on. I think that information was folded in. I think about even this group here, when it came to the communications that were going out to families and such like that, I remember this group asking to take a look at those before they went out. And I don't know that we actually ever saw them before they went out. We always saw them after they went out. So just to be able to have an opportunity to kind of look at it and offer any feedback. But I think that feedback loop is really important. So I appreciate you bringing it up, Lauren. And that's some of what we heard from case managers as well in our office hours, case management specific office hours. I think that's an important tool. I know I also heard after that office hours, case managers saying that they really appreciated being asked the question and having that opportunity for the dialogue and to weigh in as to how all of these step efforts actually play out with their families and with the conversations with the individuals and families that they're having. So super important part. And I think those efforts will continue to be helpful. We will, to your point about, we did have roughly about 25 case managers at that first one. I'll be talking about it at the statewide supervisor meeting at the end of this week. We also have Gunnar Abrahamson, who is our lead with STEP efforts, the ARPA efforts. And he'll be popping into that meeting to talk a little bit about some specific examples from each region of transformation plans that have occurred. I think at my last supervisor meeting, I asked for some feedback as to how it's being received in the regions by case managers, how the message is being shared, and I didn't get a lot of feedback. So I'm not sure that all of the case managers were aware of the all of the breadth of the transformation plans that are occurring currently. Another important point that I want to bring up is we have recently articulated the difference between transition plan and transformation plan. And the two words have been used interchangeably, I think, throughout this process. And our thought is to hone in on that a little bit, because there is already a process called a transition plan, and it's a process by which case management teams work with families when somebody is having a major transition from one setting to another or something else, to document that transition and to prepare for that transition and all of that. Whereas the transformation plans are more, those plans that were created by providers to transform the supports that they provide. So just paying attention to how we utilize those two terms to ensure that there's not confusion between those terms being conflated. So those are some of the highlights, some of the things I actually just that was a ramble that I just did, but those are some of the things that we're talking about in case management land. Marina.
Hey, Wayne. So can I just add to your point about transition versus transformation? If you're a family member, to parents who've been in the school system, especially, transition plan is a legal term within IDEA that they have been exposed to for, from middle school years now through high school. So that's going to be extra confusing also if you start using that word in yet another way. So it's not just a within DDS phrasing convention. It's also going to really confuse families if you use that interchangeably because there's in a third way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely.
Hi, Princess DDS here. So who's going to be speaking about that as far as for clarification on transformation versus transition at this at the supervisors meeting, so that that can trickle down to case managers, because that's an important aspect to context to share.
I think it's more of a conversation that has been happening. But no, to your point, yeah, well, I'll make sure that it ends up on the agenda. That's a good point, just to offer that clarification, because yeah, I think the confusion has been all around. It didn't come up at the last, I don't remember where it originally came up, but we will be refocusing on some adjustments that we're making to the transition planning document, which actually documents preparation for a transition. But in transformation is more, that bigger picture, provider focused, like they're transforming, the way they're going to be providing services, and and the way they're thinking about transitioning individuals. So
Princess DDS, yeah, that would be great. And I think that would more than likely answer the question that I received from a case manager this morning about that. So it'd be helpful that be shared.
Sounds good.
And also too, I believe the regional resource administrators were also sharing the transformational plans, or which providers had transformational plans. I thought something like that came out. So I'll check into that too as well. But I do know communication is going on between, case management and resource management on that, because one of the questions were, what's going on with the providers? And that's a good segue for Deloitte. But what's going on with the providers as far as case managers wanting an update on their transformational plans, what that looks like, how's it going, and so on and so forth, and getting that communication going, because case managers are starting to receive calls, and as Peter mentioned, we have was it nearly 15 folks transitioned already, so that's really great to hear that feedback. And if no one else has any questions, we'll segue to Deloitte for their update on the provider end.
Hi, this is Betsy Bella from Deloitte. I'm glad you transitioned over to us, not transformed over to us, but transitioned to us, because the first thing I want to talk about is actually we are in process of developing, like, most of them are one-pagers about each of the approved transformation plans. And so this will be something that can be shared with the other providers. It's also something we can share with case managers, and even more broadly, depending on sort of what level of sign-off we get from the providers, because we are hoping to put their names on them. When other providers start to see like mid-states being celebrated with their approved plan, then it can help spur a little more enthusiasm. So, across the board, people are interested in this. We're hearing providers ask for it. We're hearing case managers ask for it. And so we are in progress in developing that format and template to get out. So we hope to send a draft one very soon for initial reviews, and hopefully it can get out this month, since at least to the case managers, since there's this real push on people looking for information. As Peter noted, we are continuing to provide technical assistance. We've done some really specific outreach to like anyone who's ever mentioned to anyone they might be interested in submitting a plan. We've sent them an email saying, would you like to meet with us? As a reminder, here we have all these sessions. And we've also gotten actually onto people's calendars rather than just letting them know sort of when the standing technical assistance is. We even had people join to say, yeah, this is always on my calendar as tentative, so that I can come in and out as necessary. Between providers who have told us through technical assistance they're interested, as well as individual providers who have reached out to resource administrators, we are expecting to see at least 8 more plans sort of actively in motion and development that should be coming in hopefully sooner rather than later. We are continuing to work through communications to encourage additional providers to sort of get in the queue and start development. But it is encouraging to know that there are at least 8. And I will also say that when we started coordinating with the resource administrators, there were several providers who had reached out to them who had not accessed TA. And so providers coming to TA doesn't capture. There might be additional providers who haven't mentioned anything to anyone who are chugging along on developing their plans. So we remain hopeful that there will be plenty of opportunities for transition across the board. Peter also noted that there have been some meetings around the implementation plan. Specifically there, I wanted to add, last time we met with you all, we let you know that there was going to be some discussion around measures for tracking kind of the updates and changes within STEP. This last few weeks, we had additional meetings with folks who are participating as action step leaders in the implementation to discuss proposed measures, confirm that there's available data, or make plans to have data available so that the measures can really be meaningful and realistic. And so we are updating the implementation plan to include a more thorough sort of data tracking piece to be able to follow along with the progress of STEP across the sort of updated action steps and measures as were noted out before. So those are the real big things and pieces, the technical assistance, the updates on the plans, and then updating the implementation plan to reflect the latest and greatest on which of the pieces are rolling forward and are still active and current, as well as having a clearer plan on tracking the progress of STEP over time. Any questions?
No, anybody? Princess DDS here. I had a question, and this is all great too, really, keeping the implementation plan updated too as well. Just to expand more on the update around, getting 8 more plans coming in. Have you guys found any identified any barriers or any themes shared by providers as to why they may be hesitant in submitting or participating or submitting plans? Those that have not already.
Absolutely. Betsy Bella from Deloitte. There are providers where they either say that they've already supported everyone to kind of move who would be a good candidate for transitions. They've already supported them to transition to a more independent setting, right? This tale that like, well, everybody in our congregate settings, that's really the appropriate setting for them. There are providers who are trying to figure out the ins and outs of the financials, especially if they're pushing towards, if they're interested in pushing towards something that might be like a little new and different from what they currently do, right? Not just supporting people to transition from congregate to non-congregate, but what does non-congregate really look like and mean? And they have concerns about sort of their long-term sustainability. And then especially because, we can't tell the future of what rates will look like 5 years from now, right? And then we do still continue to hear from providers this idea of like, I just don't have time to think about it right now.
And have you found that to be true across for residential and for employment as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And then on the employment side, it's concerns about, making sure people have jobs available. And on the residential side, it's making sure there's affordable housing available.
Okay.
So hopefully with the current notice of opportunity around non-project based supportive housing, that might help get a little bit of a push. We do know that some of the resource administrators have been urging providers who are kind of like in the planning process to consider how that can integrate in with their step plans.
Right. And so for the providers that have identified it that they may be interested, but they're looking at, the long-term sustainability of the project, and maybe looking at offering other services, because there are some providers that, we do have to consider that. While we do have a lot of providers, some of them offer certain services and some of them don't. So this would be a new area, the learning curve and getting, hitting the ground running. Are we, as a department, monitoring that, supporting them in that? Or is it just was the conversation that they're not interested now? That's their focus to try to look at that? Or is it kind of like what you're saying that you guys are doing as far as technical assistance with maybe helping them to kind of move on to provide or develop that plan? Or what it
Betsy
could
Bella
look
from,
like anyway.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Princess. It's Betsy Bella from Deloitte. Yeah, so I didn't speak too clearly. The providers who are interested, they are in progress, they are moving along. It's the providers who are not interested. These are some of the senses we've gotten from some of the events and pieces as to why they might be more hesitant to jump in.
Okay.
And so
Great. That's
in
some great.
those,
There's some. Sorry. Go ahead.
and so it's tricky because then we don't have the sort of communication relationship with them to have more of those conversations around, let's talk about what that might look like, what those next steps could be.
Mm-hmm. And this is Princess DDS, and I'm sure resource management would be involved in that too, as well, as far as the support for the provider end too, as far as keeping that communication and then pulling you guys and keeping you in the loop to that. But I appreciate that update and feedback, because that is questions that certainly case managers have, as far as, if we've identified there is providers that maybe have not submitted a plan and wondering why and kind of what that communication has been. But that certainly makes sense. And I know that there was an individual, we got some feedback from out of the case manager forum where there was a question too, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, whereas an individual had a provider and was interested, but the provider did not submit a plan, doesn't have a plan. They don't want to change providers, but they would be interested in participating in the transformation. And so, the case manager had wondered, where did we go from there, from that point? So it's good to know that there's still this technical assistance, going on in the background for the providers, and resource management is also in communication and supporting and hopefully trying to, support providers and identifying barriers and resolving some of those to hopefully have them get into this movement as well. So thank you for that update. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh.
No, I'm also glad you mentioned the case manager office hours. So
Yes.
Yeah, we held the first one at the end of September, and there's another one coming up in October. So DDS is running those, but we are supporting, and they are in motion. So it's an opportunity for case managers to ask questions, share updates, and the first one went really well.
Great. Sorry about that.
So no, you're good.
All
Good
right.
questions?
Lauren put in this, Princess DDS here. Lauren put in the chat that the next one is October 25th. So thank you to Deloitte. All right. So that seems like the update that we have for folks. We kind of threw in the divisional communication, unless you have something additional to add, Wayne, on that divisional communication wise.
Just that, and this has come up in our Wayneside LDDS. This has come up in a few of these meetings where we talk a lot about case management and making sure that case management has the information around process and all of those pieces. But resource management also, we can't forget that. And, you know, I did recently hear some feedback that resource management could use some more outreach, I think. And I think the way to do that is through the regions and through the resource administrators, and really leaning on them to find out what or offer what is needed information wise from resource management to best facilitate transformations with these providers. So I don't want to forget that that's a big piece of this DDS engagement.
It is, and thank you. This is Princess DDS here. I know I've been reaching out to resource management as well to make sure that we're pulling in their feedback and that they are also receiving the same information that case managers are receiving. And so they are getting that. And then there's a case management, and I know Lauren is probably going to talk about this, but there's a case management, resource management section in the steps on the STEP website too as well. So, and Lauren our communications division communicated this morning to solicit some feedback on all the updates and you know, everything, all the materials and everything around step 2 as well for both resource management and case management. And so I did forward that out too as well. Lauren shared that with the resource administrators just so that they're aware and they can put that out to their teams, and so that we're getting feedback from both. And I submitted it to case management supervisors as well, and Wayne, you were included on that. So we'll be getting that out to make sure case managers and resource managers are in the loop and providing us that great feedback that we're looking for on how to support them with information, what might be missing, any holes in the communication, any clarifications, or anything that Deloitte or communications McDowell can do to kind of you know, help support even better, or innovate the website even better. So Lauren, your hand is up. You can chime in on this.
Yes, this is Lauren Gray from DDS. That is a really good suggestion. And I've been so focused on the case managers. I have not always included the resource managers. So that is an area for improvement for me. Wayne, I will connect with you offline about, I don't know if there's like a distribution list or specific people to be reaching out to, but I would love a list of people to ask like the same questions that I am asking the case managers and some of the CM supervisors. So I would love that list from you of like specific people to reach out to if you have ideas.
Princess DDS, yeah, we do have a resource management distribution list for like a quick blast. All right. Yep, go ahead.
Wayne Seidel, DDS. I think it's more it's so definitely getting information out, but I think it's just like finding a way to check in with resource management to see what the needs are. And that could be through the resource administrators or resource managers, supervisors to check in with their staff. So yeah, happy to have that additional conversation.
Yes, and certainly pull me in too, because I'd be interested to hear what they have to say too, just coming from both myself anyway, resource management world and also case management world. So it's helpful to be close the loop on that.
Yeah, this is Lauren Gray. I just want to say, like, this is Lauren Gray from DDS. I'm wondering if like a roundup meeting like of like resource managers and like some of the people y'all are mentioning, like a meeting would be really helpful, like a discussion meeting to start with. Okay, I need help with who should be in that.
I could certainly help out with that, Lawrence. Princess DDS here, so reach out and we can get that going. But I think a conversation to start would be great, and maybe you know, have them help us to put an agenda together for some things that they would like to hear, and you know, give us something to start with, to work with. But they have been included and have been participating. They have been participating in those forums as well. They've been in the loop all along for sure, but I think something more focused for them would be definitely beneficial. I'd be happy to participate in that. and Deloitte too. I know that Deloitte has been working with resource administrators for, at least in pulling everything together with the provider aspect and the planning aspect of things. I don't know if you have anything to add, Betsy, around resource management involvement, and if you guys have identified anything additional beyond your one pagers that you provided as far as updates for resource managers, kind of how they participate in this, how they help to support, you know, and any information they might need additionally.
This is Betsy Bella from Deloitte. We've largely coordinated with the resource administrators and with sort of a trickle down. But I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because a lot of the messaging has been, especially early on, kind of like, oh, if you're at DDS and you have step questions, go to resource administrators, which means people are asking resource management in general, writ large. And so making sure that there's really consistency messaging that's really reaching them around the latest and greatest in STEP is going to be important.
Wonderful. So we'll keep everyone updated on how that goes on this committee. So we've reached the end of our agenda. As far as future agenda items go, we are going to, we discussed that we were going to skip November's meeting, and we'll get back together in December to close for our last committee meeting. We'll be reaching out in between with some updates, even certainly coming from out of the resource management roundup, to share with folks. And for the committee, I'd put it out there to you guys to take a look at the website and the information when you have some opportunity to, and provide us any feedback that you guys would have that would be a benefit to us as far as any changes or improvements. We're always looking for improvements. And also the communication that's been going out for our social media too as well. I don't know if you have had a chance to take a look at it, but it's really great. And I think it's been going well too. So I'm trying to keep up with it too as well. And as far as action steps, I know that some of the launching that was mentioned earlier, we're going to be looking out for that in the forums. So those are some of the actions that are coming out of you know, all the efforts that are happening. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add, but on our as far as action steps, I don't know if anyone has anything else to add that you'd like to see, or any future items that you guys would like to see. Certainly let me know. And then our next meeting is going to be December 13th at 11. And that is all we have. Thought it was going to be a quick update today, guys. Sorry. But lots of great things going on, and we really appreciate the feedback and the opportunity. We thank everyone for joining us today. The comments and feedback is wonderful. So thank you so much. Thank you, Lauren, Deloitte, Peter, and everyone for joining today.
Thank you.
All
Thanks.
right.
Have a good
Good
day.
afternoon.